All right. So today we're going to dive into something a little different.
Okay.
We're going to look at the real world impact of Bitcoin.
Okay.
And I know people hear that and they think,
Right.
okay, this is going to be about buying stuff with Bitcoin or,
Yeah.
whatever.
Right.
But we're really going beyond that today.
Yeah.
We're going beyond the surface.
I like it.
And we're going to look at how Bitcoin is actually changing lives.
Okay.
So to do this,
Yeah.
we're going to take a deep dive into this YouTube video.
Okay.
And it's a conversation between Peter McCormack,
Okay.
you know him from What Bitcoin Did, the podcast,
Right.
and Matt Odell, Bitcoin VC,
Right.
and Harry Sudak, Bitcoin entrepreneur.
Gotcha.
And what I like about this conversation is that these guys are all deeply involved in Bitcoin,
Yeah.
but in different ways.
Of course.
And they're not just talking heads.
Right.
They've actually built businesses.
Right.
They've, ridden the waves of the market.
They've lived it.
They've lived it.
Yeah.
Exactly. And they've seen firsthand
Right.
how Bitcoin can be a tool for creating real world change.
It's that tangible impact
Yes.
that you don't always hear about.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And a great example of this is Peter McCormack himself.
Okay.
So, as some listeners might know, he recently decided to end his podcast after like 850 episodes or something crazy like that.
Yeah. It was a lot.
But
Far run.
it's not that he's stepping away from Bitcoin.
Okay.
He's actually stepping more into it,
Okay.
but in a more practical way.
How so?
So he's bringing it to life in his community in Bedford, England.
Interesting.
He's putting it into action.
So he's going from like the theoretical
Yes.
to actually like using it.
Exactly.
Okay.
And a really interesting example of this is that he bought a local football club.
A football club.
Yeah, a soccer club, as we call it here.
Okay.
And it was struggling.
Okay.
And so he's using Bitcoin
Really?
as
though?
part of their financial strategy.
Interesting.
Yeah, they call it their Bitcoin Strategic Reserve.
Hmm.
And it's actually generating returns for them while supporting the local community.
That's amazing.
So it's not just about personal gain.
Right.
It's about creating a more resilient and prosperous future for everyone.
Wow. It's like he's almost taking a page
Yeah.
from people in countries with like really unstable currencies.
Yes.
Like you think about like Argentina, where
Right.
it's like you almost have to become like
Right.
really good with your money
You have to be
just to survive.
savvy. Yeah.
He's kind of doing that in reverse,
He is, isn't he?
using Bitcoin to like build something lasting.
And it's interesting you say that because it really highlights something that all three guests kept emphasizing,
What's that?
which is that Bitcoin isn't just about the price.
Right.
It's a catalyst for a different kind of thinking,
Hmm.
one that prioritizes long-term value and building stronger, more resilient businesses.
Yeah. You know, when you really think about the fact that Bitcoin is scarce,
Yeah.
there's only 21 million.
Right.
That really changes your thinking. It forces you to think long term.
Absolutely.
You can't just be in it for the quick buck. It changes
Mhm.
your whole perspective.
So how does that scarcity, how does knowing that
Yeah.
actually change your perspective,
Yeah.
let's say as an entrepreneur?
Yeah. How does it change your approach?
What?
Well, it's like you're suddenly looking through a new lens.
Okay.
That whole get rich quick mentality just fades away.
Right.
Because you're forced to think about the long game,
Right.
creating real value.
Yeah.
You know, Jack Mallers, right?
Yeah. The Strike guy.
Yeah, founder of Strike, the Bitcoin payments app.
Yeah. Have Strike.
He actually uses Bitcoin's historical growth rate
Read.
as like a benchmark for his decisions.
Okay. What do you mean?
So Bitcoin's gone up roughly 63% on average every year.
Right.
He uses that as a measuring stick.
Hold on. So if he's looking at a project
Yeah.
or even thinking about hiring someone
Yeah.
and it's not going to like outperform that,
It's got to be better than Bitcoin.
he's not interested.
Exactly.
Wow.
It's that Bitcoin scarcity mindset.
Right.
Makes you prioritize ruthlessly.
It's brilliant,
Yeah,
but so intense.
it is.
Imagine like going to your boss and being
No.
like,
Right.
that idea is only going to get us 40% growth this year.
Right. Pass.
Gosh, out of here.
Get out of here.
Exactly.
But it makes you realize
Yeah.
how much our current system
Yes.
encourages short-term thinking.
It's all about the quick return.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But this conversation wasn't just about business strategy.
Right.
It got really personal, too.
Oh, yeah, they went there,
Oh, yeah. They talked about that going down the Bitcoin rabbit hole experience.
which we've all been through.
Right.
in
Oh,
some way.
in some form.
If you're listening to this, I'm sure you've been there.
Exactly.
It's that intense learning curve.
Yeah.
The price swings.
Oh, yeah.
The feeling of being part of something completely new.
It's like stumbling into this hidden world.
It really is.
That can be overwhelming.
Absolutely.
But also, you find your people.
Yes.
You find your tribe.
Exactly.
That sense of community is huge.
Remember when Peter McCormack talked about almost selling Strike early on?
Oh, yeah. Early days.
He almost cashed out.
Almost missed out.
But then he decides to go all in on Bitcoin instead.
Wow.
And that leads him to El Salvador,
No way.
right? Where he ends up documenting their move to make Bitcoin legal tender.
Wow. What a story.
Pivotal moment.
Talk about being in the right place at the right time.
I know, right?
But it's also about saying yes.
That's it. It's
Being open to the opportunities,
kicking a chance.
calculated risks, but still.
That's the spirit.
Exactly.
It's that spirit of adventure that's so contagious in the Bitcoin space.
It is.
It's like you go down this rabbit hole and
It's an adventure.
it's a wild ride,
For sure.
which is why I think that theme of mentorship and community really stood out to me.
Having that support system is so crucial,
It really is.
especially in the Bitcoin world where it can feel isolating sometimes.
Totally.
You know, McCormack talked about how much he learned from early interviews. Yeah.
He even said they shaped his entire podcasting approach.
That's true.
And then there's Odell admitting he gave Harry Sudock some terrible advice early on. Told him to stay away from Bitcoin mining.
Can you imagine?
We might not have Bitcoin Park today if he had listened.
Exactly.
It's those missteps.
Yeah.
And the willingness to share them openly.
Yes.
That builds trust.
Vulnerability.
Exactly.
And shared learning.
Absolutely.
It's so powerful.
It really is. It's like those moments where you're like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
I thought I was the only one who
Yeah.
went through that.
Exactly.
Or felt that way.
Yeah.
Those shared experiences.
It's huge.
They really bring people together.
Yeah, like when Odell told that story about,
Which one?
you know how he was talking about how he had gotten these two rabbits?
Yeah.
And he was trying to get them to, like, be friends.
Okay. Yeah.
And he put their cages on top of the dryer
All right.
because it was running.
Shared trauma
It's like that shared experience.
bonds you.
Yes.
For better or worse.
Exactly.
And, in Bitcoin,
Yeah.
there's no shortage of trauma.
There's a lot of shared trauma.
There is, right?
Yeah.
So I guess the question is,
Okay.
for our listeners,
Yes.
who do you turn to
Oh, that's good.
when things get tough
Ooh, I like that.
in Bitcoin or in life?
Who's your support system?
Exactly.
Yeah.
We've talked about the positive impacts,
Right.
the inspiring stories,
For sure.
but this conversation,
Yeah.
it wasn't all sunshine and roses.
Okay, what do you mean?
There was this underlying tension I picked up on.
Really? Like what?
Well, they talked about Bitcoin's disruptive power,
Right.
but they also hinted at the potential downsides.
Interesting. Like what?
Well, as Bitcoin becomes more integrated with the world,
Yeah.
will it lose some of its rebellious spirit?
Oh, I see what you're saying.
That's a big question.
Yeah, like as more people like McCormack and Sudock
Right.
bring Bitcoin into the real world,
Exactly.
does it change? Yeah. Does it lose its edge?
That's a good question.
It's like anything else, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes when things evolve,
They change.
they lose a bit of what made them special.
It's true.
So is this evolution a necessary step
Okay.
for Bitcoin to reach wider adoption,
Right.
or will it come at a cost?
That's the million-dollar question.
It is, isn't it?
Really is.
And maybe there's no easy answer,
Right.
but that's the beauty of it.
Okay.
It makes us think.
Yeah.
Challenges our assumptions.
It's not always comfortable,
Exactly.
but it's important.
Absolutely. It kind of makes you wonder, though, right?
Yeah, like what happens as it grows?
Exactly.
Does it change too much?
That's the question, isn't it?
It's like that double-edged sword,
Yeah. You want it to succeed,
Of course.
but you don't want it to lose what makes it special.
It's that balance, right?
Exactly.
Between staying true to the original vision
Right.
and adapting to the changing world.
Exactly.
It's a tough one.
It
There's
is.
no easy answers.
And maybe that's okay. Maybe that's part of the journey.
I think you're right.
It keeps things interesting, right?
It certainly does.
It forces us to keep asking questions.
To stay engaged.
Exactly.
To keep learning.
And that's what it's all about, right?
It really is.
So to our listeners out there,
Yes.
keep exploring.
Keep digging.
Keep that curiosity alive.
Don't be afraid to go down those rabbit holes.
Exactly.
You never know what you might find.
And who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe we'll be talking about your discoveries on a future deep dive.
I love it. All right. Until next time, everyone.